Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. This morning I want to talk about some of the changes that happened, I guess, between the time that I did my video and now, talking about the Chaos Legion cards. They're big changes. You guys might know about them already, or you maybe not, but I want to give my thoughts on these. It's summoner changes. They're big and consequential, so let's talk about it. Before I do, though, I want to remind you that there's a TNA host, PFP, thank you, Tourney. It's 50 DC to get into it. We're giving away roughly $30 worth of cards. They will be given away to several random participants. You don't need to be the first. You can be the last and still have a chance to get a $17 gold foil Charlock Minotaur, a $6 Serpentine Mystic, a Jin Chwala, or one of 10 Venari Bonesmiths. That's tons of great cards that are going to be given away at random to participants that are in this game, in this tournament. There's only 37 people signed up right now for 50 DC. More than half of them are going to get their money back from the rewards plus one of these cards. Okay, so get involved. 50 DC. This should be easily over 200 people, I would think, because man, these are decent rewards to just be handed out. It's literally a lottery ticket. So come hang out on that day, and that's also the day where Chaos Legion is going to be live. So we'll be doing a video that day talking about unpacking, talking about new synergies. It's going to be a live event. I'll be checking in on the tournament. So get involved in this and come hang out on the live. Okay, let's look at the changes that were made. I got sent this by a good buddy of mine, supporter of the channel named Jim. Thanks, Jim. This is a Twitter feed showing some of the changes that had happened. So Tarsa, the fire summoner, has been revised to have 1 melee and 1 heart instead of 1 melee, 1 speed. And I think this is a big improvement for her in the sense, like, a more bringing her down to earth. 1 attack, 1 speed to me is almost the perfect summoner. For a 4 mana cost, the way she had been issued out of the gate, this is the original. 1 melee, 1 speed. To me, that's almost a perfect summoner, especially for 4 mana cost. To think, there's a dragon summoner who's, I think, a promo summoner for 4 mana cost that gives 1 melee. There's Malric that gives 1 melee for 3 mana. There's Pyre who gives 1 speed for 3 cost. Pyre is going to be going forward in the new modern format. So why would you ever play Tarsa, why would you ever play Pyre if you had Tarsa? Do you know what I mean? So this change had to happen. They had to get rid of it. Specifically, they had to cancel the speed because it really was undermining the utility of Pyre. That's my view on why that change was necessary. This card was an absolute have to buy. And the question is, after the change here, is it still an absolutely have to buy? I still feel that's extremely strong. Extremely strong. The way I see it, when you get 2 benefits, when you get 2, like a +1 melee and +1 heart, that's like, to me, look, think of it this way. Malric is a 3 mana cost summoner that gives 1 melee. To add 1 extra mana cost and get 1 extra heart is such a good deal. In my opinion, a card that has a rare summoner that has 2 abilities should be 5 mana. And I would argue then you're putting it up against the competitiveness of some of the other cards like Play-Doh. I'm gonna bring these up now so I can show you. For those of you who don't know the names of the cards, we'll go to Summoner, we'll go buy Summoners. So look, where's Play-Doh? He's a legendary, isn't he? Yeah, Play-Doh Emberstrom. He's got +1 attack, +1 speed, -1 heart to the enemy. This is 5 cost. To me, I feel like if you put 4 cost and you just give him 2 abilities, I think you're still, I think that makes a lot of sense. But I see what they're doing, but then I feel like the 4 cost mana summoner is just so much better than a 3 cost that you almost never are going to use those 3 cost rares. So I would argue they probably should have given him 3 abilities and charged 5 mana for them, or they should have given 2 really good abilities and charged 5 mana for them. I don't know that 4 mana makes a lot of sense because that extra ability is so significant for 1 mana cost. That's why I really, really strongly feel that this Tarsa with the +1 and the +1, even though it's not speed anymore, is still a must-have. Because at 4 mana cost, I think that's a steal. You know, it's like having 2 summoners helping you out, really. It's like having, you know, this is worth at least 5 mana. That sort of buff is worth at least 5 mana. So I don't know how I would have handled that. You know, maybe you say call it 4.5 mana. Maybe you give her a +2 heart and 1 melee, and you call her 5 mana. Maybe you give her this and you call her. Maybe you do give her +1 melee and +1 speed, which again I think is really, really overpowered and kind of eliminates the utility for Pyre. And then you call it +5 at like a 5 mana cost. That could have worked. There's a lot of things they could have done, but I just feel like this build, even though it's been nerfed in a sense, I think it has, but this is a nerf from where it was yesterday. I still think this is a must-have card. Now, let's talk about Kelya Frendel. This, as of yesterday, was 2 armor and no speed. That to me, 2 armor and no speed is practically, I don't even care about you. Like, you know, I'm not going to buy you. I don't want you. I'm going to sell you. And for you new people, I would have said that would have been a great opportunity to buy because, like I've said many times, I don't care so much about how great my summoner is. I just want a high level summoner. And so if a summoner comes along that's maybe not so desirable, that can be an excellent opportunity for new players to acquire a good high level summoner because the price might be at a lower point. I would have thought that 2 armor would have been kind of very underwhelming, very underappreciated, really inexpensive. This, however, is a big buff. Why is it such a big buff? Look, +1 armor is practically the same as +2 armor. What do I mean by that? Well, most monsters don't have piercing attack. And so whether you hit whether you hit a monster with 1 armor or 2, if you're hitting it with 10 damage, but you don't have piercing, it's going to hit the 1 armor and that's all it's going to do. So whether you've got 1 armor or 2 armor, you're making very little difference, especially at higher levels. Well, no, frankly, at every level, even lower levels. That's what I just said is true. 1 armor is almost as good as 2. I'm going to say 1 armor is like 80% as good as 2 armor would be. Because of the scenarios that would unfold, that would punch through the armor with piercing are relatively uncommon. Not rare, but uncommon. So 1 armor is amazing. 2 armor is better, but I don't think 2 armor by itself is helpful. This, I think, with 1 armor and speed, which speed is so helpful because 10% chance to miss. Not to mention blue versus red. The matchup yesterday was Tarsa. Picture Tarsa with 1 melee and 1 speed, going against Kelya Frendel with 2 armor, which is what it was yesterday. Red all day long because the speed buff, because the dodge ability, because the extra melee. This, on the other hand, now blue's gonna have the extra speed with the extra dodge ability plus the armor. So this one I like now quite a bit. It puts it into competitiveness. I say it's now probably on par. This is a very good mirror match now. Like mirror in the sense that, look, your melee is gonna hit my shield. Your hearts are great, but I'm going to out-dodge you and I might out-hit you, so even though you have more hits. So I think this is actually a really interesting response. This is actually very well played, but again, at 4, I feel 4 is a weird number for this because I think this is significantly better than, for instance, Pyre. I know Pyre is a red team. I think this is, but Pyre gives +1 speed. This is the new +1 speed summoner. I don't think 2 abilities is a 4 cost makes sense. That's my criticism, but I really like this card. And now this is going to be in my interesting, I want that card now. Tarsa, I want a little bit less than I did yesterday, but I still really want. Frendul, I want a lot more than I wanted yesterday, and I think it's going to be a very successful summoner moving forward. Obsidian is still the same, and I think that's, going to be a great, you're going to want that. The plus magic. This is such a potent summoner ability that it makes sense to put that standalone. I still struggle with the 4 mana, you know? I mean, I'm fine with it. But again, like, how do we reconcile this is 4 mana with 1 ability versus this is 4 mana with 2 abilities? I think it's fair to say these are less potent than this. But I just don't know that I would list them in this manner. I probably would have given him a second ability or her a second ability also. And like I said, I would have made one of the abilities quite strong and I would have gone 5/5/5. That's what I would have done. I would have done like I guess I would have called them epic. I would have charged 5 mana for them and I would have given them 2 abilities. One of them would be a double buff, like 2 hearts. And this would be like 2 armor and 1 speed, 5. And this would be like 1 magic and 2. How about -2 armor? No, I wouldn't want to do that. How about -2 hearts? That feels too powerful, doesn't it? So you can see that I'm struggling here. I have criticism over how they've done it, but I don't know how I would have solved it. That's kind of an important thing for me to say here because I don't have the answer. I feel that 4 mana for this, considering we just had Alaric with 3 mana for the exact same thing. I don't know. Does that make sense? And these ones, like I said, I think I fully explained that. So let's move on. So Sloan is still +1 archery. I think that continues to be a very powerful choice. That's going to be, especially with a couple of those monsters that I highlighted yesterday, you're going to like that one. Thaddeus is the same as he was yesterday. This is going to be very powerful. And this Devious Dragon Summoner, again, same as he was, and I think that's going to be very helpful. So, it's interesting, like, he's legendary. This makes more sense to me. Let me also explain this. This guy being 4 mana cost with 2 abilities makes a lot more sense than these guys being 4 mana cost with 2 abilities. Why? Because they're rare. And rare can be played in more game types. There are certain game modes where you can't play legendaries. You can't play, and therefore the certain summoners are going to be excluded. And as a result, this one, having extra utility that sometimes is not accessible, to me makes a lot more sense at a 4 mana cost. But then again, I could also make an argument for why this should be 5, because Dragon is usually more expensive than the rares. Like, go back over to, like, Camilla Sungazer is an exception. 3 mana cost for rare, she gets 1 ability. But look at the Dragon Summoners. Linnea Sky is an exception also. Maybe I'm wrong about this. So look, Delwyn Dragonscale at 5 mana with the +1. This was so much more mana because it was ultimately dragon, and therefore you could have used Alaric in that situation. So this is more versatile because it can work with fire, with any of the splinters. Same with Drake of Arnak, +1 armor but 4 mana because again dragon, so you're going to be able to synergize with more decks. Because you're synergizing with more cards, more decks, you're synergizing with more monsters because of that ability. They're often more expensive. Daria Dragonscale, 4 mana, +1 melee. Bloom, 4 mana, just 1 ability, flight. So I just am a bit confused is the long and the short of it. I'm a bit confused with the decisions they made. I think they're going to be, all of these summoners are now, because of the tweaks they did to Tarsa and Frendul, I am excited for all of them. In terms of favorite, I think you're really, really, really going to want, in terms of favorite, oh man. I think because of the cards associated with it, and all like thinking the deck through just in ways I can't share with you verbally right now because I'd have to draw up 20 different cards and show you the synergies that are running around in my mind right now. But I think Thaddeus Brood and General Sloan, and that might be surprising to you because you might say Obsidian, so like the magic's so powerful. Yes, it is. It's really, really hard for me to decide, but thinking about Obsidian at +1 magic versus Thaddeus, who's going to nerf that and nerf the health for the same cost. And remember, black, Thaddeus Brood is black, Death has Nightmare, which has phase. So, you know, if you play it right, you're going to not only have a nerf to, you're not only going to counter Obsidian with this guy, you're going to diminish any sort of green team with the heart also. And then you're going to have a Nightmare in the first position with a phase. And there was some really new, cool Chaos Legion monsters that could go in the second position with Magic Reflect and other. So I feel like Thaddeus Brood actually got to, you know, climb the ladder because of what happened over here. Frendul certainly climbed the ladder, but let's try and rank them. I'm going to say Tarsa's probably still number 1. This is an amazing card. Frendul this is really, so I need to say it again. I feel like the correction here, while I have criticisms over what they've done, the correction they made was substantial enough that I feel torn about which one will be most meaningful. And that's a good thing. That shows balance. So possibly General Sloan is my favorite. Because of there were two amazing new, I think one was called the Albarist, and there was another one, there was with a blast damage. 2 big archery units. One of them had double strike and one of them had blast. And I think in conjunction with General Sloan, they're going to be real murderers. And then there was some really interesting neutral archery units that I think are going to make the white team just devastating. So that's maybe my favorite. And Obsidian isn't up there for me because the magic monsters that came along with green weren't, to me, so amazing. Now, if you were to run green with dragon, well, then you would lose the magic. See, this is going to be super powerful. But this is General Sloan's my number 1. And my number 2, because I feel like I honestly don't know what to pick for number 2. But I think I would go with the Devious. Is it Jinx the Devious? I can't read it. It's too blurry. Because it's the speed meta is going to continue to complement my dragon play. And then number 3, Tarsa. Number 4, Frendul. And it might actually be 3-4. I can't really decide. And then I guess I'm thinking Thaddeus and then Obsidian. But I could easily flip on that too. Only thing I feel super confident about is General Sloan, to me, is number 1 because of those 2 amazing cards, which I'll show you quickly so that, you know, people who didn't watch my first video. This is why. This card, the Pellicor Albarist, with the double strike, with the archery damage as it's below 5, is going to synergize so well with General Sloan. It's not going to be big enough that it's going to be diminished by the force fields out there. Then you've got the Prismologist with the blast damage, which is going to go up to 5. So that is going to be a problem for for if there's a properly placed force field on your enemy team. But remember, blast is going to theoretically hit the person next to it also. So I think this 1-2-3 combo is so powerful. And then, you know, pop over to the neutral. And on the neutral, we had the Zenith Archer with 2 mana cost and 3 archery damage. And then, of course, Supply Runner also. So and then that's not even the gem meter. So, I mean, when you think that through, with all the abilities you can draw on from from Splinter, from neutral and from the white, to me, white is the winner. But I feel strongly still that the fire, even after the amendments, that Tarsa is going to be a murderer. but she lost. She was nerfed. That's absolutely a nerf. And lastly, before we conclude, that I think Frendel was definitely buffed, and she's now really on par with that red team. Maybe even it's possible you could say ahead. It's going to depend. But yeah, these cards they're so good. This team is really good and super improved because of that modification. So I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for your time and attention. Have an amazing day. God bless.